something here.
Hi, I'm Cheryl.
My name is Cheryl.
Hi, I'm Cheryl, and I'm a filmmaker.
Cheryl Dunier's The Watermelon Woman occupies a crucial space in both queer cinema and black film history. It is not only the first of its kind, but the film also subverted the conventions of its own genres. Those genres being LGBTQ film, documentary, and romantic comedy. Dunier is so successful in injecting her authorship into The Watermelon Woman that the film gained a new type of genre, a Dunier-mentary. Through this video essay, I'll go over the different ways the film flips the characteristics of genre on its head to tell a story that is completely unique and fresh. One of the film's most significant subversions is the way it reflects the struggles and joys of queer black women, a group that has often been overlooked in the mainstream media. LGBTQ films, up until this point, were dominated by stories about white gay men with often tragic endings. Instead, The Watermelon Woman creates space for a more nuanced, even joyful exploration of queer identity, one that doesn't shy away from the complexities of race and desire. The relationship between Cheryl and Diana exemplifies this complexity. Their romance isn't idealized or portrayed as a perfect relationship, but rather as something real, complicated, messy, and sometimes difficult. It is also over in the blink of an eye, with very little conversation. This approach is important because it shifts away from the idealized, often perfect love stories we see in mainstream queer cinema today, such as shows like Heartstopper, or on the flip side, the harrowing Oscar bait films such as Brokeback Mountain. Types of media such as these often water down and make queer stories more palatable to a heteronormative audience. They tend to follow overly sentimental storylines and have little to no subtext for queer viewers. The Watermelon Woman does not follow this roadmap. It uses language that is easily picked up by queer folk, and goes beyond just telling a character's coming out story, or their struggles with being accepted. Cheryl and the rest of the cast are beyond that, just like most queer folk watching. Dunier told a story that was real and true to herself as a queer woman, and in doing that she subverted the traditional and modern conventions of LGBTQ films. At the core of The Watermelon Woman is Cheryl's quest to learn more about Faye Richards, a fictional black actress who is based on real women like Butterfly McQueen and Hattie McDaniel. This plot is told to us by Cheryl herself in a talking head interview, but she leaves out the part where Faye Richards isn't a real person. The documentary aspect of the film carries out as one might expect, with Cheryl leading interviews and accessing archival photos. She is fully involved in the documentary and leads it in a participatory fashion. It is only when the film concludes that it is revealed to the audience that Faye Richards is fictional. All of the traditional aspects of a documentary, such as interviews, photos, and footage, have been faked, but instead replaced with a much more important message. Faye's life serves as an allegory for the erasure of black women's histories in cinema, particularly actresses who were relegated to the stereotypical, dehumanizing roles in early Hollywood, such as the mammy figure. Cheryl's quest to uncover Faye's story mirrors the larger struggle for black queer women to find a place in history, to assert their existence in the face of erasure. It was on a rewatch of The Watermelon Woman that I noticed the reflexivity of the documentary aspect. By creating Faye, Dunier gives a voice to those whose stories have been lost to history, affirming that, though these women were erased, their legacies live on through the art and stories of people like Cheryl, who are determined to uncover and share them. Alongside Cheryl's journey to uncover Faye Richards' history is the romantic comedy subplot. However, the film doesn't follow the standard genre conventions of a romantic comedy. There are no grand gestures, there is no big fight that breaks them up, and there is no happy ending where they reunite. The Watermelon Woman can't follow the standard practices of a romantic comedy because those practices are rooted in a heteronormative culture. Instead, within the context of the romance subplot, the film examines a topic that is much less talked about in the already underrepresented queer film space. It shows that queer relationships, especially those involving racial dynamics, are often more layered and fraught. Cheryl's relationship with Diana highlights the tension between black and white lesbian communities by having Cheryl's friend Tamara disapprove of their relationship. During a tense conversation on Tamara's porch, Tamara accuses Cheryl of going out with a white girl who wants to be black, and Cheryl being a black girl who wants to be white.
I mean, what's up with you, Cheryl? You don't like the color of your skin nowadays?
Tamara, I'm black. I mean, who's to say that dating somebody white doesn't make me black? I mean, who's to say anything about who I fuck in the goddamn first place, okay?
This conflict delves into the complexities of dating outside your race, and the concepts of denying one's own blackness. complexities that cannot be answered in one film, but just addressing them is powerful exposure. Audiences who expected a lighthearted romantic comedy may be disappointed in the outcome of Cheryl and Diana, but their story comes from a place of realism and from a place of learning. Ultimately, The Watermelon Woman is a landmark in queer cinema because it challenges the narratives imposed by the mainstream, offering a fresh perspective on queer Black identity that is neither tragic nor idealized, but deeply human and richly layered. It is a film that reflects the complexities of queer relationships, especially those marked by race, and demonstrates the importance of creating space for the stories that have been too often silenced. Utilizing an audience's trust in documentary, the film gets us to believe in Faye, all for us to be told that she isn't real. However, that doesn't make her story any less accurate to the experiences of real Black women whose lives and contributions have been ignored or distorted by the dominant culture. In Cheryl's words, sometimes you have to create your own history.